We are freshly back from your cover shoot for the Jan-Feb issue of Men's Health. How you feeling?
So tired.
Tired. It's a long day, isn't it?
It's just like all the training in between. I mean, it's only, when you tense in for 3 hours, it's very difficult to not be tired. Do you know what I mean? So I enjoyed it. And I was pleased with the pictures, pleased with the results. And onwards now.
Yeah. You've been a columnist for months now, talking about your trials and tribulations in fitness. What did you feel like when you were asked to do the cover?
I don't know whether it's arrogance or just belief, but I knew the column would go down well. And I sort of, in my back of my head, when I started doing the column, I thought, probably end up asking me to do the cover at some point. That's just me. Do you know what I mean? And it did come a little bit quicker than I thought. But that was like sort of one of the reasons that we started with the column and with all the training. And when I got that call from Rob, it kind of allowed me to train a little bit harder with a little bit more purpose. Yeah. So it was good timing because we'd already got underway with the training and I was already into it, but it just allowed me to tighten the screws a little bit. And ultimately, what have we had? 3 months? Originally.
10 weeks,
Well, when I found out that it was like December, January issue, I thought we'd be filming in December, January. And when you told me it was like mid-November, I thought, oh no, they've cut me like a month short. Yeah. So, we've had like probably 10 weeks of training, proper training, I would call it. And I'm pleased with the results. I think the main thing is, I had this conversation yesterday actually with, just dropping a few names, with KSI. And he was arguing with his brother about genetics. And I always said that the reason that my arms are so small and I don't have any muscle mass is down to my genetics. And I always use that as an excuse because my dad's like not really a big guy either. But it's actually a load of rubbish. Like, I'm sure people have better genetics than others. But what it's shown me is actually if you do work hard and do the right thing, anyone can build muscle. It's not this delusional science.
Yeah, there's a saying that genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
So you could have the best muscle building genetics, but if you don't go in the gym, you never know. You actually have good muscle building genetics.
Yeah, really, see, I would never have thought that.
Yeah.
But, it's nice to hear.
Yeah, within a couple of sessions, and we'll get onto what you did, your shoulders were already like blown up. We're like, oh, this guy's got really good. So we were all like,
yeah. So was I.
Relieved under that sweet lighting. You could see it all coming out straight away.
To be fair, the lighting down at Farm Fitness is really good.
I think that most of the budget on the build went into like getting the lighting, getting the light. We're in a studio now.
Not saying Tom's vain, but
you would be though.
Yeah, of course.
It would be. Your training over the last 10 weeks has obviously been like overhauled massively. Has it changed your sort of concept of what fitness is and what training is in this last 10 weeks?
Yeah, I think, my fitness journey, which I really spell over like 30 years, in all honesty, is just about understanding training and understanding doing the right thing. In life, you always look for the easy things to do, the things that you're okay at. So I built my base fitness through running and I was okay at running. I built a level of fitness that meant I could have a 5K, I could have a 10K. And it was hard, but it wasn't like that hard.
Yeah.
And that's the easy way out. And I did that for so long because every time I picked up weights or every time I started trying to lift weights, I hated it.
Yeah.
And I was so weak that it was like, I'm just not, and you sort of put the dumbbells down or whatever and just go, nah, this isn't for me. So I think the science has changed a lot in terms of fitness in general. Like when I was in my 20s, it was all cardio. Like a weights gym was just full of like what I would say like meatheads guys, and my mates would go down there. We'd go down every now and again, but it was like that wasn't fitness. That was just like weights was a waste of time unless you wanted to get big. Now, all the information that we're receiving is completely different, especially for someone in their 40s as well, about building size going into later life. So that's been the biggest change for me, is kind of understanding it. And the stuff with Tom, obviously shout out to Kai Peacock as well, who's trained me really hard for a long period of time. And Tom, who has changed the way I've been training. So some more explosive stuff, building my core a little bit more, my legs, my base. And it's really improved my running as well. So yeah, I've seen a huge change over that period. And honestly, like I said to you today, like I haven't gone into today going, oh, it's done.
Yeah.
I can't wait till tonight. I'm going to have a curry and a few pints Like I'm all in now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see where it will take me.
Yeah, it's
for,
not like
for next summer.
you've not funneled into this like, and we spoke about this really early on, didn't we? We spoke about this actually before we even asked you.
Mm.
Was like for me, it was never about like you can bring someone in off the street and you can starve them and you can get them like absolutely ripped to the knickers, but weak and tired and just thinking like when will this be over? But for me, the whole time it's always been about how you look on that, and it's out now, right? So how you look on that cover is a representation of what happens if you take someone in their 40s and you give them a sustainable training plan that's going to prep them for the rest of their life. You give them a sustainable eating plan. And it was never even really about a plan. It was about, I've always joked the whole time, like educating Eddie Hearn, like showing you a skillful way to train, a skillful way to eat. How have your views on nutrition changed?
Yeah, that's been massive for me. I mean, just because I always felt that I was a nutritional expert because I'm around people making weight all the time, like literally like my whole life. So, and I understand food, and food's been probably one of my biggest enemies. I feel like the breaking down, particularly starting to understand the macros, has been a massive change for me. Like if you said to a normal person, how many calories do you think you can eat a day? Like they might get within a number, and then you actually said to them, break down the macros, and they would not even have a clue what you're talking about. But I would have had no idea of how many grams of protein, how many grams of carbohydrates, how many grams of fats. And what's been fun for me is, when we talk about my fitness pal and stuff like that, is actually getting to a point where you see what you have left. Yeah. And it almost becomes like a little bit of a game.
Yeah, you gamify it.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
And actually you get to a point where you think, damn, I've got 550 calories left for dinner. Or, I've got 750 calories left for dinner. But understanding that is, I always say to people, it's not actually difficult to make a change. It's difficult to get in unbelievable shape. Yeah. But it's not difficult to make a huge change.
It's simple, isn't it?
It is.
The rules are simple. And I would say, nutrition-wise, probably the first time you came into the farm and we sat down, we probably told you everything you needed to know in 15 minutes, right? And then you go away, and I remember you coming back the next week and you're like, I've got this MyFitnessPal app, and I didn't realise how much.
I actually realised, I think I downloaded it about 8 years ago.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? That's the classic.
But I feel like with the barcodes and stuff like that, like it's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
you can get curious about it.
But that's what's been a big driver for me is I'm actually interested to feel better. Yeah. Like interested to look better. We always joke, and I can't be any more truthful to say the big thing for me is I want to wake up in the morning, put my pants on, look in the mirror, and go, yeah, you look well. Yeah, like that's
you put your pants on first. Though.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, that would be the only reason I look well. But it's like I think you look well, and that actually gives me a lift for the day. There's nothing vain about that. That's just like if you look good, for me, I feel good. Now, obviously, there's more to life than that, but it's a great start in the morning because I was getting to a stage where I'd wake up, look in the mirror and go, God, you look knackered, or I'd get on the scales. I weigh myself. If I've got scales, I weigh myself every day, and I have done probably for 25 years.
Do you think that's from being around fighters and things like that?
Just think like for me, it's my way to make myself accountable. Yeah. So because I was always heavy, it would just stop me. Like I'd get on, I'd think,
just give you an awareness.
You need to get down the gym, or rather than now, I weigh myself more out of curiosity for what's going to happen, not because I know I'm out of shape, but just because I wonder what I'm. Oh, that's interesting.
See what you're
just
doing
to understand the science because I find it quite fascinating, and as well being around boxers making weight all the time. I got down. I was 107 kilos this morning. We talked about probably could have hit 105, 106 for shoot, but whatever. But I got down to 103 pre-weights. Yeah. And when I was at 107, 108 before I lost all my weight, I didn't really look that good. But now I'm at 107. I look full and healthy.
Got that muscle.
Yeah, I don't. I'm fairly lean. I've still got a long way to go, but I'm happy with that number 107. Whereas before it was just like, can you get under 100? Yeah. For
Has
me,
it changed your relationship with scale weight?
yeah, I don't know. Like people have always said to me, like, why do you bother weighing
Mm.
yourself every day? Like you're on a plane, you're landing, you're having a big meal, you're having a small
Yeah.
meal, and it's just like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just for me, it was a way just to try and control
Yeah.
my weight rather than let it spiral out of control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I knew I was heavy, I'd want to get on the scales to make sure that I went to the gym.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's overly healthy
No.
weighing yourself every day.
I'm
But
a
it
bit
wasn't
like,
I'd never
yeah.
get on the scales and go, oh
Right.
no. I'd go, right, sort yourself
Yeah.
out, get in the gym.
It was just
You
an
know.
awareness thing.
Yeah,
But it's great now that it's like this side of curiosity where you know
Yeah.
you're doing the right thing. So you're seeing how
It's like,
that
I feel light,
reflects
so I'm
on
going to get on the
scale.
scales.
Yeah.
Oh,
See
wow,
what
okay,
that
I'm
looks
107.
like.
You know, I was
Yeah.
4 kilos lighter 6 months ago,
Yeah.
but looked totally
Yeah.
different, you know?
Yeah. The scales don't tell the full story, do they?
No.
That's, you know, they really don't. And something you said, you mentioned feeling good. Like before you said anything about looking good, you mentioned feeling good. And I think a lot of people, when they start, either they don't know anything about it, about, you know, tracking your calories and this sort of thing, and they've heard that it's just an excuse to like stuff your face full of sweets and everything. But you soon find out, don't you, that like, yeah, I could. Like I know I can only eat, you know, 3,000 calories. Oh, you know, I get my protein in, whatever it is, and I could just eat ice cream now. And
Yeah.
you have like a week of that, don't you? And then you're like, well, I feel like crap.
Yeah.
And you really start to find out, actually, good foods aren't just good. We don't just call them good foods because they're good for weight loss. It's because they make you feel good, right? They give you
Yeah.
fuel. They energize you in the gym. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and that's important in my job, really,
Yeah.
because like you've got, I mean, my biggest weakness is my lack of irregularity
Yeah.
when I'm working all day.
Yeah.
So, like I said to you earlier, I might get like till 4 o'clock and go, oh, blimey, I haven't actually eaten today, you know. Whereas now I sort of get things. Even people who work with me will come and go, Eddie, got your chicken, or like got, you know, because they know that I'm doing that sort of stuff. So, but I think understanding that eating better makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And one of the big things for me, especially around the macros, was understanding really about my carbohydrate intake. Because as someone that's been trying to lose weight for years, carbs were just a complete enemy. And it was like, if I could go a whole day without eating carbs, that would be a massive win for me.
Previously, yeah.
Whereas now it was like, no, you need. I would train and Tom would say, "Have you eaten? You know, you really need." What can I have? Just get a nice pasta, like with, you know, make sure you get, you know, your protein in as well, though. But what, can I have a bowl of pasta? Yeah. I'm like, what, really?
Yeah, I remember.
What, can I have a jacket potato? And it was like, and then my weight started going down, or my body started changing through eating things that I thought was the enemy. So training, I've been fueling myself for training, which is different to starving myself for training, which is exactly what I used to do. So every time I was doing weights or I was trying to get into a training regime, I was starving myself, which is like it was a waste of time anyway. But it was
you
a
can't
complete
train.
waste
You're
of
not
time.
going to recover.
No.
So then you end up out just running, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're running because I need to
And
get
running on
something in.
empty.
Yeah, running on empty.
And then waking up, having not eaten properly the night before, feeling knackered, overweight, like no muscle. Like, so it was like, you know, but now, like I said, food for me, I still have terrible sugar cravings. You know, I love chocolate.
But you're still getting that in, right?
Yeah, but also now, I think as well, the brands that you eat, I'm much more conscious, especially someone with kids as well, of sugar intake, like looking at the details of the food that I'm consuming or my kids are consuming. And it's quite scary once you start to understand it and you see tomato ketchup and you're seeing what they're plating on their food, you know, literally. And
is this more about how that makes you feel, though, as opposed to not a case of that's going to, you know, I'm going to get fat if I did, but more like you become aware, like, well, if I eat that in an hour's time.
But if I eat the right amount of food with the right macro breakdown, I will feel good.
Yeah.
I won't get a dump in energy.
Yeah.
I'll be able to go for longer. And a lot of this journey has been around making sure that my workload is sustainable moving forward, rather than just getting to literally 50 and just being done, like as in just battered everywhere. Like you're on a plane every week, you're overweight, you're not fit. And the results that I've seen from that, like the first thing people say to me, if they actually knew my itinerary and schedule, would say, how do you not get jet lag? I say, no, honestly, not really. Like my sleep is poor but as you start exploring, like the next thing I'm interested in now is my breathing. Breathing for me was always a load of rubbish. right? I would hear people talk about their breathing, and I'd be like, breathing.
I think the first time we met, I
Yeah.
started talking to you.
Well, I know
I just
you're
saw
big
you
on
go
it
up
as well.
into
Yeah,
space.
I know. It's
It's like, what's he
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about?
Well,
Yeah.
I remember one of my favourite parts of this journey was when Tom was away and you were training me, and we were doing the ski erg,
Yeah.
and you were on some mad thing about doing 24 minutes straight with carries and ski ergs and air bikes, and I was thinking, and I couldn't breathe on this thing, and you're like, right, drink some water and keep the water in your mouth while you're doing it, and just breathe through your nose. I'm like, this bloke is absolutely mental. I mean, I've seen him on Instagram, but he's actually lost the plot. And I'm like, well, I got the water in my mouth, like 30 seconds in, I'm like, oh my God, like I actually can't even, I'm breathing, like I feel like I could go for 3 or 4 minutes here. And that was like the nasal breathing stuff has started to become quite interesting for me. I mean, I don't know if you're into it, but sleeping with the tape on the mouth, you know, where I find that stuff quite interesting now.
Yeah.
And all like life's about edges. So for me, in business is all about edges, but that also comes in your preparation and your performance. So like a fighter will prepare, and every little part of improvement is an edge for them. And really every part of my improvement and my health and fitness and like that engine is also an edge for me to work harder and to do more. And when I shouldn't be able to go and get another flight, or I shouldn't be able to get home and go to the kids' football and like go and run around with it, like I can.
Yeah.
So for me, all the extra bits are edges. And as you get more and more into it, you start wanting to explore and deep dive further.
Yeah.
So now I look like nasal breathing. I think, I mean, what if that did help? You know, over nasal breathing.
Yeah.
Shut up. Just open your mouth and breathe.
Yeah.
You know? And then I'm running and I'm thinking, okay, I've gone from 26 minutes to 22 minutes on my 5K. And I'm like, how do I break 20? You know, I'm 6'5", I'm 17 stone, I'm 44 years old. But how do I break 20 minutes? Do you reckon if I did nasal breathing, I could get 20 seconds off? You know?
Yeah.
So you got to be that kind of person. But for me, a lot of the stuff that I used to think was just like, you know, I'm starting to take a bigger interest in.
Yeah, it's all those little percentages, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned it there. Those edges in, I think people like compartmentalize their fitness, don't they? And then maybe they do a sport and their sport is their sport, or maybe they just train. A lot of people, you know, historically train for aesthetic reasons or to lose weight, whatever it is. But your fitness is your fitness. That spreads across your entire life, right? Unless you're doing something in the gym or in your sport that just crushes you and you can't do anything else. How have you found that, like, switching your training to the way you're training now, and particularly changing your nutrition? And we spoke really early on about how this is all about skillful choices. It's not about good or bad, it's about skillful choices. How have these changes impacted your work life? Have you found that you're fitter there?
Much fit. Like, I mean, again, like, I don't mean to sound vain, but when people come up to you and go, you're looking really well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about fighters and trainers who actually, you know, like,
they know what they're
it's
looking
not
at.
like if someone says to you, you look well, mate, like that's fine. But for actually a trainer or a fighter to go, hell, because sometimes you don't see the development yourself.
It's day after day for you, isn't it?
Exactly. So someone says, wow, yeah. For me, still a big thing. Like, and I'm not out here to get pats on the back, but I don't believe anybody doesn't like to be told they look well or healthy. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's when I look back at photos, you know, that one we sent the before, you know, it's just like my face and like my neck and like, you know, obviously I've decided to lose the rug that I had on me. Yeah. But I look at that picture and I can't actually remember that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was fine then. It wasn't like I was terribly unhappy.
Yeah.
But I've always been, you know, probably since I was like 15, I've always been a little bit overweight. You know, I'd go on holiday with my friends. Some would be in great shape, some wouldn't. But I always really wanted to be like, and I said, I always joke with you, I want to look good in a pair of swimming trunks. Like, everyone's got different goals. I'm not saying that's my ultimate goal, but I'll tell you what, make me, you know, be pretty nice with my lifestyle and my time to be able to go on a beach and say, yeah, I look after myself. And now I actually think that looking after yourself and training hard is a major sort of statement in life, especially at my age. You know, because as you go, I said in the other day in an interview, this is the decade for me that kind of sets the standard for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So if I know people who are my age who I bump into and I think, oh my God, like, I'm not going to say any names, but you're the same age as me.
Mm.
You look done. Like, you actually look done. I mean, one, you're heading straight for some kind of illness or heart attack or whatever. But two, you just look terrible.
Yeah. No energy.
Yeah.
Just no life. Yeah.
So, like, I think it's
and it's not even necessarily about weight, is it?
No,
it's just...
but it's like, but I think it's really cool for a 40, especially like a 50-year-old. I mean, some of like, there's a couple of boxing trainers I know who are like 60, who are like training every day. I mean, look unbelievable. And then you look at another 60-year-old who, like, they look like I said, they're done.
Yeah.
So for me, this was just a decision. I basically looked at it and said, if you don't do something now, you're going to get to 50 and it's going to be almost like not irreversible. It's never irreversible.
It's going to be a lot harder. Yeah. Every decade it's
but also people get to a stage, and I've got family members who, I'm on at them all the time, who are actually at that stage where it's like, I'm so far gone the other way.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's reversible.
Yeah.
But I say to them, I actually, more of a half glass full approach of saying, it's actually so easy for you to get instantaneous results.
You're going to see it like every day.
You're going to lose, I don't know, a stone in the first month.
And every time you run, every time you go to the gym,
I promise you, it would be so easy. So easy. And it's like, again, I've become a bit of a preacher because I find it interesting. The one thing I've seen so much though is the amount of people, when I stop drinking, and every now and again, someone will see a picture of me with a glass of wine or a pint in my hand. When I say I've stopped drinking, I've stopped going out and drinking, as in, anything over 2 glasses of wine, but just when you talk about the choices, if I'm out somewhere socially, I don't need a beer. I don't need a glass of wine. I'm happy to drink water or sparkling water or whatever. And when I first started doing it, I was getting a lot of stick, especially from people in the workplace. Oh, here he is. Look, here he goes with his sparkling water. Oh, I said, listen. And then the other day we had a show in Monaco, and I went out and I had, I don't know, 2 glasses of wine, a glass of champagne, and I got into bed that night, and I was restless. I couldn't drop off to sleep. I woke up in the morning. I decided not to go to the gym because I just couldn't be bothered. I ate worse at breakfast. And again, I don't want to be preachy, but I can't believe now when I go out, a lot of those people that were criticizing me, I've noticed, are making the similar choices. Yeah. They're still, like, for me, I've never had a problem with drink. So I've never really enjoyed it, but I like going out and having a laugh. So for me, it's a lot easier to go, no, I'm good. Now, if I play 18 holes or, and I get in a clubhouse and I go, oh, fancy a pint of Guinness or just a lager top, no problem. But it's just like, that's been a massive difference for me in feeling good, because I would finish a show on a Saturday night. I would go out, we'd go to the hotel bar, we'd go to the club, 4 o'clock in the morning, like pretty legless, get back to the hotel, up at 8, 4 hours back if we're in Manchester or Liverpool, take the kids to football, like go and see my parents, like, and it was just like, and then Monday, just forget about it, knackered, no productivity, no training, bad diet. And as I got older and older, that would stem to Tuesday. Yeah. And then it's like, before you know it, you're on Wednesday and you've started the week so badly. So, I'd never say to people, oh, stop drinking. But I think the world is changing in that respect. I think less people are drinking.
If you're enjoying this content, you can watch or listen ad-free on the Men's Health app by joining the Men's Health Squad today. Once you're in the squad, you will have access to tons of exclusive content, including regular member Q&As, interviews, and access to our world-class training platform featuring plans for every level and for any goal. Simply head over to hearstmagazines.co.uk/mh-mag or hit the link below. Especially like a certain age demographic as well, right? And it's so easy to be caught in a spiral of it though, because if your standard is feeling rubbish all the time, you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to feel like you're going to be like, well, I feel rubbish. What's new? But when you're training, when you're curious about your performance, and you've got these little markers, like I'm running all the time, so I know my speed. suddenly you're like, oh, hold on a minute, I don't want to feel bad
Yeah.
tomorrow. And it is that, isn't it? I know it's such a cliche.
But you're right. When you feel bad all the time,
Yeah.
you don't realise that
Yeah.
you're actually feeling bad. So you wake up like
What's
not
new?
feeling great,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't know, bad lunch,
Yeah.
curry, pizza, a few
Yeah.
pints at
You're
night.
anaesthetising yourself
yeah,
to it
yeah.
then, aren't
And
you?
it's
Yeah.
like that spiral, it just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And that's been a big change for me as well. Like the way that I'm feeling consistently
Yeah.
now is very different to, you know, one day I might be tired. Well, I'm not so tired today.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I was never in the stage of just every day, just bad choices. But it was like one day I might be knackered or hungover, and then next day, oh, I've had a workout, I feel better today.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm tired again. You know, so rather than consistently waking up and feeling good every day.
It's bringing awareness to that. How I feel. How do I feel? And what have I done to feel? This is what we spoke about really early on. Like you eat stuff and you go, well, actually, forget about what's in it. Forget all that. How does it make me feel? And once you start getting that awareness, you're like, oh, actually, maybe I'm not going to eat that anymore. And it's nothing to do with weight loss. It's just you suddenly realize. And I think perversely, what tends to happen is, I don't know if you've experienced this, you can actually then enjoy those things a bit more because you're not like, I feel like crap, so I'm just going to have a curry. You're like, I feel great and I fancy a curry, so I'm going to have one. And you don't feel any which way about it other than enjoy it, right?
But also the metabolism changes for me with the weights and with the way that I'm training. Whereas before, I said to you at the start, I would have a bad food day or weekend, and I might have lost 2 kilos during the week and put it straight back on again at the weekend and think, oh my God, I've only had literally like a Chinese or like, whereas now my weight is so much more consistent that, you know, we talked about, what was it, 2,400 calories or 2,500 at the start.
Yeah.
If I went and did 3.5 or 4 and had a Sunday roast and all this kind of stuff, it didn't really change my weight. And that was so nice for me to see, because I'd get on the scales in the morning and go, oh, no,
we had this lots of times on WhatsApp, didn't we?
And I'm like, oh, wow.
I'm the same.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've put on, I don't know, 0.5 kilo where I was expecting to put on 2.5 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been a big, I guess that's metabolism from building muscle. I still think the ice baths and the stuff have been massive for my metabolism, you know, but I couldn't believe that big change of, if I have a bad day now, it's not like, it's really not the end of the, like, it doesn't change a lot. Like aesthetically, it doesn't change a lot. On the numbers, it doesn't change that much, but I just know tomorrow I just got to rein it in a little bit. And again, that comes down to understanding the numbers, the macros, and everyone's different. Like for me, like you said about gamifying it, I just find that, you know, fun to look in the app and how many, oh, blimey, like you would always say to me, I really need you to hit 220, 250 grams of protein, like early on. And I'm like, blimey. And then I get to like dinner and I've had 100, and I'm, you know, got the Greek yogurt and the protein and things like that, where normally I'd have my dinner and go, oh, I'm all up for some Viennetta now. It's one of my favourite things, Viennetta. I mean, you probably don't eat Viennetta.
No, I love a Viennetta,
but
mate.
it's like £1.99 for the big slab, and I can do the lot in one go easy because it just melts in your mouth so nice. Actually drooling now, telling you. But then going back to the Greek yogurt with the, you know, the white chocolate whey, and then with the berries, and it's like, wow, this is actually so nice. And then you look at the calories and the protein, and I'm thinking, that's unbelievable. That's done me. I don't, you know, I still need the Viennetta, but it certainly,
it takes the edge off, though,
does take the edge off. Maybe half a Viennetta.
What have been the biggest changes in your training? Like, is there anything you're doing that you didn't expect to be doing, or that's like really new to you? I know obviously weights in general, and I want to touch on this in a minute, was something that you kind of skirted around, but what were the biggest changes in how you're training?
What I was lifting and understanding the form a little bit better. When I started, it was just about finding a way to get the rep done. Like, I've got to do 12 of these. Like, oh, if I can do a couple of easy ones, that's, you know. Whereas now it's more about, you know, and again, it comes down to, I always used to laugh because if you look at people training weights, they do look at themselves a lot in the mirror, right? You know, like I see it down where I train, absolutely. Yeah, but it's like, you know, and it's sort of like, you know, and I'm thinking, I used to look at them and go, oh my God, like what? And it's like, you know, And then when you start using the correct form, you actually realize what you're training. So like one thing you said that, my shoulders have become decent. And it's like when I'm working shoulders, now I'm actually I'm thinking about my form. And then afterwards, I might be one of those guys where I just sort of go to the mirror and say, actually,
flex
that
tricep.
no, but that's
Yeah.
okay. That set was perfect. Like, and just about, tension, working under tension, and probably actually working on my form rather than, and the introduction of like a lot of supersets and like, or sets in general, where he's sort of pushing me to failure a little bit and stuff like that, but I think that all comes with actually being able to do it. I think once you get to a stage like now, we were joking earlier about kind of like chest presses, and like when you are doing, 32 and a half, 35 kilos on a chest press, you're thinking to yourself, actually, like, I think I was doing like 17 and a half when I started. I think everything is just, as you get better at something, it's easier to do.
Yeah.
So now when I go and do weights, I'm not actually going, oh no,
Just got to get through
I've got
this.
shoulders. I'm thinking, I'm actually looking forward to this today because I think I'm going to be strong today.
Yeah.
And I feel good. Tom's really good at the analytical stuff. So like he'd say to me, like, last week, you did 6 at 35. And I'm thinking, right, I want to do 8 today, or, and I think that's, as you get stronger, you start to feel good about your training, and you start seeing results and things that you never felt like you could do before. There's been a lot of days that I just was low on energy, flying back somewhere, get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and just, but overall, and again, when I talk about my running, it's really helped my running.
Yeah.
And that's been pleasing for me as well, because I do love running. And, when you're changing your time so much and you're feeling so much different on those runs, that's a nice feeling as well.
Yeah. It's motivating, isn't it? It's motivating. And that progressive overload, like, do more. Like, unsurprisingly, you do more and you get better. And then you do more and you get better.
Yeah.
And that's another form of, like, I think it's interesting. It's very similar. It probably speaks a lot to your personality type, but it's very similar to like gamifying your nutrition, right? Instead of just being, I've got to go to the gym and I know I've got to train hard. Then you're like, well, you did 6 at this weight last week. So, all you got to do is do 7 and you've done better. And you've got all that information, right? Instead of just being, because sometimes results in the mirror come slowly, right? And you see yourself every day.
For me, like and I think it's just 100% the same with most people. You need to see something.
Yeah.
And that's not like, if you're starting a fitness journey, that can be on the scales. That can be in the way you feel or you look.
Yeah.
Could be your skin. I don't know. For me, it was actually building some kind of shape. But if you're not seeing something, it becomes so difficult.
Yeah.
But if you're not seeing something, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And the best thing that I could say about this, and to people out there that are thinking about it or are struggling a little bit, is it's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. Like, the most difficult thing is time.
Yeah.
And there's always time. Like, I say it to, I was going back to family, just haven't got time. The kids, I've got the kids. Yeah, but what do you mean you've got the kids? Well, they're up at 6:30 every morning. We'll get up at 6. You've actually got a treadmill in your garage. Just walk for half an hour before they wake up. That's it. Oh, can't do that. Why? I'm so tired. I said, guess why you're so tired? Because you're out of shape, you're eating shit. It's like a downward spiral.
Yeah.
So there is one of the most pleasing things about this whole thing is the amount of messages I've got from people saying, oh, I've been following, I've started doing 5Ks, or I've started lifting weights now, or I'm in my 40s too, need to make a change. It's a massive thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help you, in your 20s and your 30s, like, life's different. I can't believe how many people are in the same kind of position where it's just like, okay, I'm in a job, I'm working non-stop, tired, getting older, got kids, they drive me mad, I need to work harder, things are getting tougher, people want more out of you. Like, everyone's in that position.
Yeah.
And you
And
see,
literally everyone though. So
yeah,
it's a
but
cliche, isn't it?
but
And
you
we
see
tell
the
ourselves that
yeah,
story.
you
Yeah.
see the fitness world and the well-being world. There's a massive shift towards
Yeah.
wanting to feel better.
Yeah.
I mean, that stems across, I think, people's understanding and sympathetic approach now probably to mental health.
Yeah.
Like, there is absolutely no doubt that getting yourself fit and healthy improves your mental health. I mean, it has to be scientific, right? There is, and I keep saying to people, there is no one that has improved their well-being or health and fitness that hasn't improved their life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that, whether they've helped their career, whether they've helped their mental health, whether they've helped their energy, their happiness. I'm not saying that going to the gym is going to solve all your problems, but I'll tell you what, impacts your resilience and your ability to handle situations.
Yes.
That for me is the key. Because if something bad happens and you feel like shit and you're tired and you're not like, the way that you respond and
Way you
bounce back
react,
from that is totally different.
Yeah.
And that's been probably one of the big things for me. Whereas like it bounces off me. I mean, I go through so much stuff when I work by, like, you know, fights falling through, drug tests, like social media criticism, like just, it's like never ending. So, but now I almost feel not invincible, but almost like, you know, like Batfink. Do you remember Batfink?
Yeah, but put a cape around.
My wings are a shield of steel. You know, it's almost like that. Where it's like ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
Whereas before it's like one would get through and it's like, oh no, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. Oh, another one comes. Now it's more like, come on, fire at me. You know, and that's, you know, as a business owner as well, that's important because you need that resilience. It's very different to just having a job where you just float in and float out, and it's not really a big deal to you. Like, when you own a company and that company relies on you, along with over 100 staff, like, the pressure's on you, and that you need to be resilient enough to handle all those bumps in the road.
Yeah, I always say that, you know, working out is not going to cure all of your problems, but it certainly puts you in a better place to fix them for yourselves,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
You feel like since over this last 10 weeks, you feel more resilient through the type of training you've been doing?
And I think the weights, like, I've never been big, like, not just big on doing weights, but just big on the benefits of weights.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that I am stronger, I don't know whether it's a mental thing, but that also makes me feel more resilient. You know, like, I feel stronger, you know, like if I'm in a suit or if I'm in a track, like, and something bad, it's almost like rather than just so weak, you know, like, that's how I felt a little bit before, was just like puny.
Yeah,
I guess, if that's even,
I know what you mean.
like, and I'm not, you know,
it knocks you a little
bit.
bit.
But it's not like, oh, I'm big and strong, I can handle anything. But there is an element to that. I mean, I'm only speaking from the heart and from with truth to say, I think if you are bigger and stronger, you feel like you are more resilient. I don't know. I
You
mean,
begin to know your own
I do.
capabilities, don't you?
So I'm just telling you how it worked for me.
Yeah, I used
But
to train
I don't
a
know
guy.
whether that's for everybody.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I believe it's for a lot of people. I used to train a guy at 6 o'clock in the morning in financial district, and we were having a conversation one day, and he'd come in before work, and he used to say to me, he'd come in, and he didn't really even have any goals. He just used to be like, kick my ass, you know? And he used to say, I know I've done the hardest thing of my day first thing in the morning. Before I get into work, before I have to deal with anybody, I've done the hardest thing I'm going to do. And nothing else then. Everything else then feels like, I can handle this. Like,
but
that's also
like the ice bath mindset, isn't it? Whereas getting in there, like, I know, if I can get in there and have 5 minutes in there, what else? Like, that was horrible. What else have you got for me today?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just like building. Life's all about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And the more you put yourself in that situations, the easier things are to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's why you have people that have been through a lot in their life, a lot of bad stuff, that are actually more resilient than someone else that hasn't experienced that. Same as live sport, a ring walk for a fighter. The first time a fighter will make that ring walk and walk out into the arena, heart beating through the chest, legs going like jelly, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again.
Yeah.
In the end, they don't even think, oh my God, I'm about to ring walk. They just go, where's the stage? Right, boom, go and have a fight. For me, doing a press conference, First time I did a press conference, the lights, me, I was shaking. I used to put my hands under my legs because I thought that's a good way to sort of, every time I brought them up here, it might be, I'm talking
Nervous,
12 years ago, now I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just go 3, 2, 1, go. And I go,
Yeah.
and it's because it's just repetition.
Exposure.
And,
Exposure
putting
to
yourself
hard
in
stuff.
those positions
Yeah.
all the time. So, and that's the same with training.
Yeah, 100%.
You put yourself through it in a hard run, the next one's going to be easier. You do a weight session that makes you feel sick, the next one's going to be easier.
Yeah.
So that's the same with everything in life.
If you're enjoying this content, you can watch or listen ad-free on the Men's Health app by joining the Men's Health Squad today. Once you're in the squad, you will have access to tons of exclusive content, including regular member Q&As, interviews, and access to our world-class training platform featuring plans for every level and for any goal. Simply head over to hearstmagazines.co.uk/mh-mag or hit the link below. You've got all these, there's all the physiological components. You do your ice bath and you've got 500% dopamine boost and you've got all this and great on paper. But more than anything else, I think it gives you this big stockpile of evidence in your own capabilities. Suddenly you have faith in yourself because you're like, well, I do that. I do that. And that's what you get with a lot of people in life. You do get people who obviously are just cocksure because they're cocksure. But most people, you've built a massive business. You're training hard. All of that is a big body of evidence for you, even subconsciously, to be like, well, this is who I am. Yeah. This is, this is what I'm capable of.
You feel like you've achieved something. It's like not everyone is an achiever or a high achiever or but for me, achievement can come in personal life, in training, in business, but you're always looking to have achieved something. So when I train, I don't want to train just like, I suppose I better go out for a run. It's how far am I running? What time can I do it in? I want to see afterwards what my heart rate was, or what did I run that 2K in, because that felt like a fast one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or when can I get over to do weights this week? Or why don't you get to the office early and have an ice bath on that day? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just like the little wins.
Yeah, banking those wins.
I mean, you've said it to me a number of times during this. Like, it's the little things when there's no excuse to bank them. Bank them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I know it's difficult with time and everything, but the ones that you can, the quick wins that can make you feel better, get it done.
Because they then give you that confidence we're talking about to go, well, this is actually the type of person I am. So when it is a case of, I know I should go and train, but like this new show on Netflix, whatever it may be, when you have this body of evidence and this streak of like, well, I've done ice baths and I've done this, suddenly you're like, well, I'm the sort of person that actually gets up and goes and trains. Whereas if the converse is true, if every night and every day you're just not taking them wins, we've said this through and through, skillful decisions. You're not skillfully going, I'm going to take this win. That's what your identity then becomes, and that's so hard to snap out of then, isn't it? Because you can't see yourself as the sort of person who is winning, right? But when you're stacking them up like that, it talks about time there. That's something I really want to touch on, because I know when we first started this whole thing, I sort of sat back in my chair and I was like, I know the Instagram comments are going to come in and they're going to be like, well, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it if they got money, and you give them one of the best trainers in the country, you give them a nutritionist. But you have a lot of disadvantages that I think people don't think about. I think people sit there and they think, well, look, if I had all of that, I'd be doing it, which is why everything we've done with you, we're going to make available to everybody as a resource. But you have something, or don't have something that a lot of people have, like the ability to make a sort of rigid schedule. You're like, every time I'm here he is, he's here in the world, he's here in the world. How did you fit in the training when you're like, you're not even on the road, you're in the air, you're jetting off all over the world? How did you make that work?
I think when people say, oh, it's a lot easier if you, obviously money will allow you to get a trainer, but it is easier with a trainer. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And it is easier. Not necessarily, I haven't got a nutritionist, but I've taken advice on food and I've learned for myself. And by the way, that's the easiest part. Understanding what you need to do. I mean, we'll be drawing it up in the magazine and on like that.
And to be fair, we've not told you anything you couldn't have read in the magazine.
You've not been making me food every day. You've been telling me how many calories I've got to eat and what macros. So, but for my benefit of having a trainer versus my big disadvantage of not having any time, that is the main thing. So like, if I would have been at home and based in the office, during this 10-week period that we've had, my results would have been much better.
Yeah.
Like, it's the moments where I know that I'm around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I fly on Thursday, and then I'm back on Monday. Okay, what can I do in the hotel? I'm not going to get there till 10 o'clock. Then I know I'm going to be jet lagged. I'm going to sleep 3 hours. You've got to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning for media. Can you train before then? If you don't train that day and you miss 2 days.
Yeah.
And I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in England, so I have to do my strength sessions Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then I finish on Wednesday night and I'm like knackered. I've done 3 days on the spin. So it's like my schedule's never consistent.
Yeah.
And the key to results is consistency. So for me, one of the hardest things I find to do is do weights on my own. Like, even when you and Tom write it down of what to do, like, I still do it, but I just don't do it with the same intensity.
Yeah.
If I'm in the farm and Tom's standing over me doing his silly stuff, or he might say, game time. Or I'll never forget when I was doing a sledge with you and I go up one end and I can't even feel my legs. And you're going, right, turn around. I'm like, and you go, there's nothing for you here. It's all back there. I'm like, Andrew, shut up, mate, please. Whereas but that's motivating versus, all right, 12 of these, So for me, it's just being accountable. Yeah. And if it can't be an hour of weights, do a 7 or 8K, do something, Yeah. And what I've always tried to do is when I land, try and get something done.
Yeah.
Because if I land in America and it's nighttime and it's 8 hours behind, if I can just get that running before I go to sleep, it can change my day tomorrow, So it's just, you're talking to yourself. That's what you're doing. You're just saying, come on. Like you said about that moment when you're watching Netflix, how many times, oh, God, I've got to do that run.
Mm.
It's so easy not to do that run. But you know how many times I always say, one against the head. I use that quite a lot. And that's what I call a session where you probably weren't going to do it, but you end up doing it.
Yeah.
They're so valuable.
You won that
those
battle,
sessions.
Yeah.
Like, if I can run when I land, huge for me.
Yeah.
Because that's almost, it's not like abnormal, but it's like pretty, like, people will see me in the gym
It's a statement.
And go, you just got here? I go, yeah. And they go, bloody hell.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, I just got here. And now I've run 10K.
Yeah.
So, and then go to the room, have something light to eat, bank a good sleep, wake up in the morning, feeling fantastic. Helps me with the jet lag. I mean, helps me sleep better, So there's many things to improve, but we made a solid start.
It's all about spiraling up, not spiraling down, right? And it speaks to that thing of you just banked a win. And that win reinforces your identity as someone who does this other stuff. Whereas they're not losses, but like you say, normal, what the normal thing would be like.
But sense of achievement.
Sense of achievement,
that's like,
and it's backing yourself, isn't
like,
it?
So people talk about what is success. Success for me is many things, and also individualistic, but it's also about fulfillment. These sessions, those ones that you bank against the head, that gives me a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like you're fulfilling anything, then your motivation in life decreases very quickly.
Yeah.
So it might be, we do these fight day 5Ks. Unbelievable. Wake up on Saturday, meet, 80, 90 people from the local community, kids and everything. I'll run a 5K. Oh, I'm done for the set up for the day. Back to the room, try and get a little nap if I can, because I'm big on that in between now, because I'm not sleeping properly during the nights a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Wake up, go to the show, feel good. So fulfillment, I think, is important.
You bump into one of your mates, one of your pals that you said, the guy that you see, and you're like, how are we the same age? And he says to you, I want to get into this sort of nick. You got 5 minutes. What do you tell him?
I say to them, you need a sustainable workout schedule. Understand your diet. Do your research. Find out how many calories you need, what you need to be eating per day, and stay consistent with it. Lift weight. I mean, I always say to people now, you need to lift weights. Like, even my friends have told me that before, and I'm like, nah. I'll run, mate. I'm a runner. Done a marathon, no problem.
Yeah.
But you need to work on your strength. But for me, I think the best bit of advice is make the start. Like, the journey, it's never going to be smooth. Like, you're never going to go, right, I'm starting now, and then 3 months later, just be walking around like looking like something, it's what my mates used to say, looking like something off the cover of Men's Health. We used to say that all the time. Now that's me.
Yeah, after 10 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, people have looked better on the cover, but at least I made it there. But like the little, like, it's so frustrating. I go back to like family members. I want a trainer, like, because they're so basic. They're not talking about doing lifts and stuff like that, but just the absolute basic fundamentals of moving. And it baffles me in today's world that some people don't do any exercise. None. I mean, I'd love to know the percentage of the country, like in their 40s, how many people actually exercise. And I believe that's going up. But there are so many people that actually don't. Like, I know people that haven't exercised for 1 or 2 decades.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how can you live your life like that? Like, I think a lot of what's in your mind is developed when you're a child. And for me growing up, my dad ran every night. Like, so I would, when he was home, I would sit in the gym and I would just watch him, right? So now, my kids see me training all the time and I see them training or going football or, whatever. And it's like that. So also do it for your kids, do it for your longevity, do it for your career, do it for living a better life. Like there's always half a dozen really good, probably a dozen reasons to do it.
Yeah.
But there's always one to not do it, which is just, I ain't got time, or I can't be bothered, or, and it's like, I don't want to be a preacher, but you will live a better life.
Yeah.
And that has to be worth doing.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Fitness, even if you're not hitting your, you've got a really specific goal, run a 5K like this, or, lose this weight or get in this shape. Even if you're not hitting your goals, it's all right, because all you're actually doing is adding 10 years onto your life and like improving the quality of your life. Yeah.
I mean, look, sod's law, I get in unbelievable shape next year, unfortunately pick up an illness, pass away.
Yeah.
That's nothing you can do about that.
You can control
All you can do
this.
yourself is you can give yourself a great shot.
Yeah.
You can give yourself a chance to go on.
Yeah.
And like I said, at my age, it's 3 or 4 years of bad living starts to become much harder. Never irreversible, but much harder and easier to go, well, I'm fit. And then at that point you go, well, I'm 50.
Yeah.
And it's the difference between going, well, I'm 50 to I'm only 50.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's like, but there's 2 people go, I'm not working out. I'm 50. What that says is I've given up. I'm done. Versus, do you know what? I'm 50. Like, I promise you now, right now, physically, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. I'm 44 years old. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in 6 months? What's going to happen in 12 months? What's going to happen in 3 years? Like, you never know in life. But why shouldn't I go into my 50s feeling even better than I feel now?
On the up and up.
Yeah. I mean, like, hopefully, hoping by then they can just give me a little something, and then all of a sudden my wrinkles go, and that's called Botox, isn't it? I haven't gone on to that yet. But I think that self-improvement is important. Like, self-improvement makes you feel good. And like, and I still stem back to I think a lot of people look in the mirror and don't like what they see for many different reasons. But physically, I think a lot of people look in the mirror and don't like what they see. When you do look in the mirror, one, you want to see something good inside, but aesthetically, I don't know anyone, unless they're lying, that doesn't want to look in the mirror and go, oh, I look good today. Like, maybe that's just me. No. I don't believe so. I mean, there's probably different levels of it. And it's not to a point of me where it's like, like total vainness, but I just can't help but telling people, if you look better, you will feel better. And if you feel better, like, you're just going to live a better life.
Yeah. I think it's Georges St. Pierre, Georges St. Pierre said, you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you fight good.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't make sense. And everybody wants to decry it. And I think,
but you're better off being on it, and again, it's not vain. It's just like, but the people who say, no, that's not, like, that's because they don't like what they see in the mirror.
I think that's the same as that body of evidence I was saying about, those, you're not taking any wins, and that you look at what you see, and that's what you've convinced yourself you are. And it could be that you could actually make no physical changes whatsoever, but you start training, you start eating well, and your body doesn't actually look any different, but you're going to feel differently about what you see in the mirror. I honestly believe that. I think because you're going to feel better, and you might you might not as aesthetically have changed at all yet, but you're going to look and you're going to see someone who is taking control of life, who is on that self-improvement. I think particularly as you get older, it's whatever you do, you know, after 30, after 40, physiologically, it starts winding down. And the more muscle and fitness and physical resilience and durability you can build, then that's a buffer zone. That's what I call it. Like, you know, imagine we go up and we come back down. Well, you want to go up as far as you can then, so that when you come down, you've got a long time to be coming down. And doing it now, you know, is the longer you leave it to start, as you say, it's never irreversible, but it's going to become more difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's next for you? You built this new rig, new mindset.
Yeah, it was a long way to go. Like, you know, but again, the best thing about today and this situation is it's not, oh, that's over.
Yeah.
It's, I'm training tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm just thinking about, you know, Tom sort of said goodbye to me today, and I was like, well, goodbye
when
what?
I'm seeing you again. Yeah.
So, you know, just consistency.
Yeah.
And not, and working off a good start. Because I also know that after a week of doing nothing, like, your body does start to change. It's not hard to bring it back, but if you go a week or two without actually training, like, you do see that decline, you know? So I want to keep the improvements going, and just, I want to see how good I can feel.
That's what this was all about from the beginning. Not just starving you and battering you with hard workouts. Like, let's get him ripped for this cover, which obviously you do look phenomenal. Let's see what happens when we take someone in their 40s, give them a sustainable plan, give them everything they need to know about eating skillfully, not just starving themselves, eating for their energy levels, fueling themselves, and then just getting them stronger and fitter. And let's see what that looks like. Not let's make someone look like this. That's like, let's have the best case scenario, make you feel good, make you feel fit, make you feel confident. What does that look like? And lo and behold, like, it looks good. It looks good,
Well,
right?
I'm delighted to have been your guinea pig.
Yeah. Well, it paid off. It paid off.
Thank you.
I've heard the word Iron Man being knocked about.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Yeah, I'd done a marathon a few years ago, and it was like, I'd say the worst thing I've ever done. I mean, I'm proud that I did one. Lucozade called me the other day, or the team, and said, would Eddie like to be, we've seen all his stuff that he's doing, you know, would he like to be? And I thought, and I was just that moment where I was like, I said I'd never do another marathon. And I was like, I was so close to committing to it. And I just thought, I just can't, like, I can't train like I used to then, like the runs, you know. But an Ironman 70.3 is something that really interests me, because again, it's just pushing beyond, like, and then people say, well, can you swim? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can swim. Can you swim? I don't know, whatever it is.
You swim a mile in open water.
Yeah, I'm like, probably not. And I'm like, are you good on a bike? Not really. But I can do the half marathon bit at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's going to be next for me.
Love it.
Like, in the short term, keep building, keep improving, and keep trying to look good in my pants.